I've got to say congratulations on the Innocence, because like I say, it really creeped me out, and not many films do that. We'll come on to that in a moment, because I did want to touch on your work with Joachim Trier as well, because you wrote all three parts of the Oslo trilogy. You've done some other films with him as well. I wondered how you came to work together in the first place, and what makes your working relationship so special, because you're clearly doing something right.
Well, he literally walked out the door 3 minutes ago. We're sitting together discussing some ideas for a new movie, and we end up just talking about cinema and whatever, because we are friends. You know, we became friends in our teens because we both loved films and wanted to make films, and our working relationship came out of that we just started helping each other with our short films when we started out, and then I helped him write some stuff, and then we just been continuing like that. So that's our relationship. We were kind of best friends before we became professional writing partners. So I think that's a huge part of it.
Do you have the same tastes in films?
A lot of the time we do. So we have to make like a lot out of the small disagreements we have when there's a movie that I like and he doesn't, or I like a little bit more than him, or vice versa. But yeah, we really have a lot of those same sensibilities, and we've been talking about movies for more than 20 years now. So we are very in tune. So I know exactly when this Joachim will like this, or this will be right up his alley, and he will recommend stuff my way as well. So we're definitely, we have a lot of the same tastes.
And that sounds like when you're working together, you've probably got a sort of shorthand in the way that you talk to each other as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's the advantage. A disadvantage of working together when you're friends is that you just like you waste so much time just talking about everything, which maybe also find its way back into the work. So maybe it's not time wasted. We don't know. But the advantage is that we don't have to explain everything all the time. You know, we'll get it, or we at least will get what the other people mean by it. So we don't have to explain everything and overthink everything, because we're both very analytical. We can be, so we can pick everything apart if we want to. So it's good to keep that more intuitive, creative vibe going.
Yeah, it means you keep some spontaneity, I suppose.
Yes.
So The Innocence is actually only, I think, your second feature film as a director, and of course you wrote it as well. Where did the idea come from initially, and what was it about this particular idea that made you think, no, I actually want to direct this one myself?
Well, it was, I don't think I would have made it if I hadn't become a father, which makes people think a lot of strange things about my kids, but they're normal kids, and it's not, they don't have any supernatural abilities, or they're not that scary, I hope. But I also think I usually, when I write alone in my office, which is where I am right now, it's for me to direct. And when I'm with Joachim talking about something, it will be for him to direct. So it's not that hard to distinguish. But I think like the very germ of idea for The Innocence, was one of the ideas I tossed Joachim's way when we were talking about what later became his movie Thelma. We wanted to make something more supernatural, something in that genre, and we tossed a lot of ideas around. And I think one of the ideas I came up with was that the magic of childhood. What if that was real? What if when a few kids were playing together, something inexplicable, magical happens, then they go home, sit down at the dinner table, the magic is gone, and you'll think, oh, that was just their imagination. And no, it was real in that. And that was one of the ideas we tossed around, and Joachim didn't respond that well much to it, maybe because he wasn't a father yet himself. I don't know. And but it's like that when we work. We throw things around, and if the other person doesn't respond, we move on, you know, no hard feelings. And usually those ideas just die there and then, but this came back to me later. And I think it's because I was a father and I become very curious about childhood, and also that childhood is so different from being an adult. You know, you experience the world in a completely different way, and I as a dad or a parent, I have no access to that world. It's a parallel universe. So I wanted to make that a movie about that secret world of childhood.
Yeah, I mean, I think that secrecy element came across very, very strong, and it was interesting that actually it's something that you associate more with only children than children who have siblings. And actually, two of the children are only children; they don't have brothers or sisters, so it sort of accentuates it a bit. How did you get inside that secrecy? I mean, was there anything in your own childhood that you were able to draw on?
Well, my research was kind of dual, that I observed my kids, I have them around me, I could hear how they talked, and that was very useful, but also they trigger childhood memories in me. You know, I can watch them and suddenly, oh, I haven't thought about that, but I used to do something a bit like that, and suddenly that feeling of becoming a child would just wash over me, but only for a second, because it's so different. You know, you can't hold on to that feeling. It's so intense and weird, and without any limits. The concepts of time and everything is so radically other. But then I just started thinking a lot about my own childhood, trying to remember a lot. So there were a lot of this. I have at least one incident of being a bit cruel to a seagull. You know, it was spontaneous. It's just spontaneous thing. I shot with an air gun and I hit it, and it flew away, and I knew I hit it because it moved in the air, and I knew that, oh, it was a lead bullet, probably poisonous. And I was just walking around feeling guilty, and that maybe it was in pain, it was dying. And I talked to other people, and a lot of people have those stories about transgression and being cruel to animals, to other children, to younger siblings. I mean, there's a lot of those stories going around, and I was starting to think, why is that? Why do we feel that need when we're kids to test those limits? And why do we keep saying that kids are so innocent and pure and good, while they're actually just figuring out those concepts? You know, they don't know. They're trying to find their set of morals.
The performances that you get out of all the children are quite remarkable, particularly the girl that plays Anna, who's the autistic child. I won't try and pronounce her surname because I know I'll fail, but her name's Alva. I know that much. And it kind of reminded me of watching Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. It was one of those performances that made you sort of sit back in your seat and go, oh gosh, who's that? Did you spend time with families that had autistic children, and was she part of that process, or did you have to take a completely different approach?
First of all, to get these performances, the time just to spend time in casting, we spent over a year to find kids, and we were very open. I had written that role for a 14-year-old boy, and then there was this 10-year-old girl just waiting during audition, spacing out a bit with that look in her eyes. And the casting director, she said, oh, she's interesting, we should try her. And we discovered that she had this aptitude for like getting into that state and staying there and being very convincing. And then I had, of course, done a lot of research, meeting with families, a lot of them very protective about their kids if they're nonverbal autistic, because they you really don't know if they're comfortable in a situation or not, you know. So they're understandably very protective. So, but we got the chance to observe some of them and talk to the parents and watch documentaries and whatever, but I didn't bring the actors into that. I showed her some documentary material, and what was interesting was how she, who was only 10 when we were rehearsing, she could just, I could say to her, look at the way this boy holds his hands, and look at how that woman in that YouTube clip, when she's happy, she expresses her happiness with these body movements, and she would watch. And then later, when we were rehearsing, she would have picked up on those things, which like, oh, wow, she's 10 years old. I mean, and it was just a gift from the movie Gods. I mean, I was just watching in awe and just saying, I'm going to look so good now, you know, but it's all her.
That is quite extraordinary. Now, of course, the cinema landscape at the moment seems to be populated with superhero movies, and it's all about them having superpowers. So is this a superpowers movie or is it a supernatural movie?
Apparently it was a superhero movie. I didn't know that until we premiered in Cannes. And the American magazines and everyone were saying that it was a great superhero origin story, but I didn't know that until I had finished it. For me, it was more a movie about childhood and the magic of childhood and that kind of limitless world that they live in, and the magic led to the supernatural powers, and that led to, of course, some people saying it's a superhero movie. But I guess everything is now. No? I see you have the Marvel on your shelf there. So
well, yes, exactly. I kind of had to ask, really, didn't I? Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to talk to you, and I thoroughly enjoyed the film, and I thoroughly enjoyed being creeped out by it as well. I thought it was great. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. So nice to talk to you.